here I deleted the inner vertices inside this oval. Let's go into the front view, press F and I for insert. We are going to create this circle now. I'll scale it along the x-axis by I. Let's compare it with the blueprint. The circle needs to be moved slightly upward, slightly higher. As for the oval, it should be scaled along the x-axis and moved up a little bit as well. Let's press GZ like this. Now let's see if we should add a bevel here. I'm in edge select mode and I'll bevel these edges with just a single segment. I may remove some of the extra geometry later. By the way, right now I can see triangular faces around in our Twitter area. That shouldn't be there. I'll clean up and fix this part of the topology as well a bit later, because I want to work on the woofer part. Let's figure out how to fit it into our topology, because it's quite an important area here. I'll select this edge and try moving it upward along the z-axis. I think this section of the geometry, the Twitter part, also needs to move up. What if we press, using the proportional editing, by the way, we'll move it all together upward. There we go. Now we can compare our circle with the blueprint. Disable proportional editing, press G, press Shift Alt, to select the edge, the whole edge, the complete edge, and move it upward. I think we also need one more loop cut here. Let's fix it so far. Let's work on it a bit, like this. So we will need one more loop cut. Let's create a space for it. And now select faces. Select these rows of faces. Press I to insert. I'm thinking about the best way to incorporate the inset for the woofer. Let's think a bit. I'll enter the X-ray mode and select these vertices through the mesh. Let's move it again. We are working in the vertex select mode. Press G, Z, and move them up slightly. Exit the X-ray mode, and let's try to fit this circle. Let's select these faces. I think I'll adjust the geometry once more. This time, this area. Let's test it. It's nice that we have the blueprint as a reference. We can easily judge whether the circle looks correct. and make all the needed adjustments. GZ, SZ to scale. The height needs a slight correction. Perfect. Like this. Now let's delete the inner vertices. As you can see, we're slowly but steadily getting closer to the final result. There is a bit of pinching there, but we will fix that later. By the way, notice that the bevel we added at the beginning has done for us. It created a much stronger supporting edge and gave us a cleaner, more controlled curve. According to the blueprint, these openings for the tweeter and woofer are perfectly circular, so we can confidently continue from here. Press F, then I for inset. Inset once more. Use LoopTools circle to create it. Scale it along the Z, along the X axis. Here we go. Now I'm thinking about adding another reference image. Shift A and import another reference from this angle. This view clearly shows the stepped profile inside the woofer, which has a really interesting shape. We will recreate it. We will place the reference beside the model. Let's begin. First, I want to work on this face. I'll push it inward. Press G, Y. It can go actually a little deeper. Then press I to create another inset. Again, G, Y, and push it slightly more. Push it in slightly more. Another inset. There we go. Let's analyze the shape. It's gradually stepping inward. We have alternating convex and concave surfaces, followed by a sharper transition that drops down into the inner recess. Later, we will also model this perforated grill on top. From what I can tell, it doesn't sit inside a deep recess. It follows the overall surface quite smoothly. Now we'll need edge select mode. My goal in this video is to finish this stepped profile and also create the recess for the status indicator. Press Ctrl B to bevel the edge, increase the number of segments if needed. Press Ctrl R to add another loop cut, and let's start shaping it. This section should become slightly concave. Let's constantly analyze the shape. It becomes slightly oval, so I'll scale it. to create circle again. Then I'll enable proportional editing and I'll add another recess. Now I'd like to temporarily disable the subdivision surface modifier and make a few adjustments. I'll turn the blueprint back on. I want to refine the shape of the circle. Disable the proportional editing for now. Scale it along the x-axis while comparing it with the blueprint. While constantly comparing it with the blueprint. Now I want to clean up the topology using the knife tool like this. Let's keep everything in quads so far. We have auto merge vertices enabled, by the way, which helps minimize duplicate vertices while editing. I think we have unnecessary edges here. Let's delete them. I mean these ones. Let's select the unnecessary edges, press X, dissolve edges, X, dissolve edges. Now let's enable the subdivision surface modifier and hide the blueprint. Everything looks quite good. Let's check for any shading issues. I don't see any so far. Now I want to add another recess here. Enable proportional editing again. Go into the edit mode. Press GY. So the surrounding geometry smoothly follows the inset inward. There we go. Back to front view. And let's see if anything else needs adjusting. Not for now. Let's move on to the status indicator. I'll turn the blueprint back on. We need to route some geometry into this area. At the moment, we don't really have enough topology here to create the indicator. One option would be to add another loop cut around this area. And the other option is to make better use of the geometry we already have. I'll hide the blueprint for a moment. Let's switch to vertex select mode. Now I'll use GG to slide these vertices over like this. Let's delete one half of the mesh and keep only one side. Then I will add a mirror modifier, turn the blueprint back on. Turn the blueprint and let's see. I'd like to add a few supporting loop cuts around the indicator. What happens if I simply move this geometry toward the indicator? Disable in this area, I mean. Now disable the proportional editing, move it over like this. By the way, we will place the mirror modifier at the top of the modifier stack. We're actually already about 14 minutes into this lesson, so I'll wrap things up here and continue to the first video. Notice that the mirror modifier is first in the stack. That ensures the shape remains perfectly symmetrical while we work. However, the indicator recess only exists on one side of the monitor, so it actually makes sense to apply the mirror modifier before we continue, leaving us with a clean, symmetrical base mesh Here what I'll do, I'll enable X-ray mode, switch to front view, select this entire row of vertices. I'll show you why. Switch back to object mode and there's still a visible gap along the center seam. I don't like that. To fix it, go back to edit mode, select this row of vertices, press S, X, 0 and align them perfectly along the center. Now return to object mode and now everything lines up perfectly. Let's apply the mirror modifier and let's continue in the next video.